Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam, Prabhu. So, we start. Text 2 we have to start with, right? Oh, 2 we did.
3, Prabhuji.
Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedant Swami Nitinamne. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesh Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshtarane. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So we are studying text 3 today. Rahugana converses with Jadabharat. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Prabhuta Virut Trana Gulma Gauhavare.
Prabhuta Virut Trinam Gulma Gahvare.
Kathora Damshair Mashakair Upadruta.
कठोर दमशैर मसकैर उपद्रुतः
क्वचित्तु गंधर्वपुरं प्रपश्यति
Kvachit Gandharvapuram Prapashyati.
प्रपश्यति
क्वचित् चाशु रयोर्मुग्रहम्.
Kvachit Chashu Rayol Mukha
ग्रहम्.
Yes.
May I read, Prabhuji?
Yes, please.
Hare Krishna. Translation. In this forest there are dense bowers composed of thickets of bushes, grasses, and creepers. In these bowers, the conditioned soul is always disturbed by cruelly biting mosquitoes and envious people. Sometimes he sees an imaginary palace in the forest, and sometimes he is bewildered by seeing a fleeting fiend or ghost, which appears like a meteor in the sky. Purport. The material household is actually a whole of productive activity. To earn a livelihood, one engages in different industries and trades, and sometimes one performs great sacrifices to go to higher planetary systems. Apart from this, at least everyone is engaged in earning a livelihood in some profession or occupation. In these dealings, one has to meet many undesirable people, and their behavior is compared to the biting of mosquitoes. This creates very undesirable conditions, even in the midst of these disturbances. One imagines that he is going to construct a grand house and live there permanently, although he knows that he cannot. Gold is compared to a quickly fleeting fiend, which appears like a meteor in the sky. It displays itself for a moment and is then gone. Generally, karmis are attracted to gold or money, but these are compared herein to ghosts and witches. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam. Thank you. In this forest, there are dense bowers composed of thickets of bushes, grass, and creepers. In these bowers, the conditioned soul is always disturbed by cruelly biting mosquitoes, envious people. Okay. So what is a bower? Bower is actually it's a very old term actually. It's a very poetic term used in the Victorian era. Srila Prabhupada writes in very classical English. So bower essentially means like a small aggregation of trees. So forest is not like uniform forest. I mean, what we see here in Europe is mainly like cultivated forests. So you see they're very evenly distributed. Actually, natural forests are never just one thick like plantation. There are open spaces and there are clumps of trees. So bowers are like clumps of trees together. So, and they are very difficult to traverse. So if you're crossing forest, like if you, you might not have seen actually, if you go to eastern parts of India, especially if you travel to Assam or Odisha, Bengal is still relatively industrialized and agrarian, but Odisha and Assam, parts of eastern Bihar, Jharkhand, they are very much forested still. If you see those areas, you will find that, sometimes you have to cross very thick forests. And when you are crossing, there are many kinds of creatures in the forest, small ones, which will bite flesh and other things. So material life itself is very difficult. Just like we were discussing yesterday also, if you have to make a living in this world, it's a very difficult task. You need to get a degree, a professional degree. Then after that professional degree, you have to establish yourself. You have to struggle for many years. Like especially if you're in India, there's a horrible struggle. In the junior years of your occupation, you have to struggle so much. You're always in distress. Like I remember around 15, 16 years ago, I was in Tata Motors, and we used to have these meetings every week with bosses. And these meetings were like horrible experiences. These meetings were essentially abuse fest. The boss was only there to abuse everyone. So regional manager would abuse the branch manager would abuse the product managers would abuse the sales executives would abuse mechanics. In this way, everyone, it was just an abusive chain. And one day my boss very confidentially told me, he said, you see, Malay, we have, this is a part of culture. We have to abuse, even if there is no reason. That was very interesting. He said, even if there is no reason, we just have to abuse. And that was accepted as a culture. And it wasn't so simple. Now you may think that men may be adjusted to this kind of thinking. So no, very young people, 30, 35 maximum, they were all addicted to substances like tobacco, alcohol, and they were like all into all kinds of obnoxious habits. I mean, you can't even name them in a civilized company. And these were supposedly very educated people. And not only that, they all were suffering from either blood pressure or diabetes or some kind of disease. So if you know, essentially, like if you know the philosophy of diseases, I mean, in Greek, it was known as the philosophy of miasma, or what you call that, not miasma, it was known as the philosophy of Maladroit or something. And also in Ayurveda, it is mentioned that diseases always have a mental root. That's why Ayurveda prefers to treat diseases with mantras first. First mantra, then Aushad. And if Aushad also doesn't work, then we go for Shalya Kriya. So Shalya is actually done by Shudras and, Malechas. Aushad is done by Manushyas, and mantra is Devi. So you see, so surgery and all this is Shudra, is Malecha level actually, because that's Danavi. So Manushi is Aushad based, where you eat something, and Devi is when you treat by mantras. So mantra treatment essentially works at the mental level, purification of the mind itself, especially when we talk of Maharog. So like, for example, Madhumeh, diabetes, it's a Maharog. It is essentially a combination of rogas. So it's not like you can stop sugar and you'll be good to go, or you just pump some insulin and you're good. No, it has many roots. That's why you see diabetes causes many other diseases. Especially diabetes patients are prone to kidney failures. So these kind of things, of course, modern medicine doesn't understand any of this. This is Shudra medicine, lowest class of medication. So they don't really understand the root of diseases. So you see, so essentially if you treat these diseases, so where do these diseases come from? Because of our desire to enjoy this material world. Matra sparshastu konteya, shitoshna sukha dukkhadah. Why is Krishna saying that? Matra sparshastu konteya, simply by coming in contact, you experience heat and cold, and sukha and dukh, happiness and distress. So when a person has to engage in kind of fruitive activities to earn, he has to work very hard. Like, for example, I gave you one of the toughest examples, the truck industry. It was like a brutal industry. I mean, if you like automobiles or something, it may look very glamorous, but inside it's like the people are savages. They're not even human beings. When I actually went to media, then it felt like a relief, because there were so many beautiful ladies there. So men were always like controlling their tempers. So it was a peaceful life as an analyst for me there. So you see, material world is a very dangerous place. You're filled with envious people everywhere, and at every step, there is some competition. Politics, corporate politics. What is that? That that what you have, I want that, so I will take it. I'll put you down. I will eat your breakfast, and in this way, I'll make you suffer. Zero-sum game. So when a trader goes to the forest, he has to suffer all of this. So then next he continues. Sometimes he sees an imaginary palace in the forest, and sometimes he's bewildered by seeing a fleeting fiend or ghost which appears like a meteor in the sky. Now, very interesting analogy this is given here. So this creates very undesirable conditions. Fighting with people, unnecessary. Even in the midst of these disturbances, one imagines that he's going to construct a grand house and live there permanently, although he knows that he cannot. One of my friends used to work for Reliance Industries. I mean, not that he went there by choice. He was forced to join that place. So he came home from office at 12 o'clock. I mean, that's Reliance, for you. You reach the office at 8 o'clock in the morning and you leave by 12 in the night. So he came home at 12 o'clock and he just went to take a shower. And as soon as he came out, he was called back at 1 o'clock. So 1 o'clock, he was back in the office. So, and of course, he was paid handsomely. The salary was beyond imagination. But you see, this is the phantasmagoria. A man works extremely hard and then he thinks he's going to enjoy, but he actually never enjoys. He works and works and works and eventually just dies. He may have millions and millions of dollars in his bank account, but he has nothing to show for it. So that's like the palace in the forest, phantom palace. One imagines he's going to construct a grand house and live there permanently. No, impossible. So, like in today's age, at least in India, an average corporate worker works for 8 to 10 hours a day. There are 24 hours. One has to rest 7 to 8 hours. Then one works for 10, 12 hours. One is so exhausted that there is not enough time for eating. So if you take 1 hour away from there also, so that leaves us with maybe 2 to 3 hours. In that time, he has to enjoy the association of his wife and children. So where is the time for remembering Krishna? You retire at the age of 60. And at 60, valuable life is already gone. Human birth is already spent. 60 years is approximately 80% of valuable human life. And that's gone in simply studying and creating phantoms. After 60, you're just, you are paying the doctors. Whatever you earned hard in your life, you're just spending that on doctors who are really making money out of your money. So gold is compared to a fleeting fiend which appears like a meteor in the sky. It displays itself for a moment and is then gone. Generally, karmis are attracted to gold or money, but these are compared herein to ghosts and witches. Stock market, what is it trending at? NSE is at 11,000 and BSE is at 62,000. What does that mean? Just means nonsense. When Harshad Mehta was at his peak in 1991-92, he had a company called Mazda Securities. Now, this Mazda Securities had no relation to Mazda Motors of Japan. This Mazda Securities was trading at around 40-50 rupees, which was a huge sum in those days. And as soon as the scam was revealed, this company sank to, Mazda was trading at 1,000 rupees. And as soon as the scam was revealed, this share fell to 10 paisa. And people were jumping out of the windows of Bombay Stock Exchange. Lifetime savings were spent. I remember one case study. There was one 62-year-old man. He took his pension savings of 2 lakh rupees, which was like a princely sum. You could buy an apartment for 2 lakh rupees in New Bombay at that time. He took 2 lakh rupees and he put it entirely into Mazda Securities. And from 2 lakh rupees, it was reduced to around 200 rupees within an hour. And what did this guy do? He just opened the window and he jumped out of Bombay Stock Exchange. That is the nature of money. You see, today again, there was one newspaper article, inflation warning for India. People are praising, Modi ji has done so well and this government, that government. But what is happening? You have no savings. Unless you invest in sinful stock market, you will have no savings. You will be reduced to being beggars. And even then you have no idea what's going to happen. So money is like that. So it's like a ghost. People chase it and they are never able to use it. Mukesh Ambani starts at 7 in the morning and he works till 12 in the night. The richest man in India. His earning per hour is more than all our people's combined earning per year. That much is his valuation. So you see, just chasing mirages. There is no real enjoyment there. Ahara nidra bhai maithun. This is the only enjoyment. But one thinks that one can have a better standard of enjoyment by earning more and more. And when one earns more and more, one spends more and more time. And in this way, one loses valuable human birth. Because, see, it's not just a question of working for 8 to 10 hours. 8 to 10 hours, you are putting your consciousness into that work. You're thinking of all the projects that are going on, what has to be done, who is, shrinking from his task, who's doing this, who's doing that. When will you think of Krishna? Krishna is saying, Man manah bhav mad bhakto mad yaji mam namaskuru. Man manah, always think of me. But what am I always thinking of? I'm thinking of some software, I'm thinking of some project management, I'm thinking of my subordinates, I'm thinking of that attractive girl in the office. All of this I'll think because it's Rajoguna. Even a devotee, even a very advanced devotee, if he lives in the association of karmis, his mind will get attracted to sex life. One cannot say, oh no, Prabhu, I am actually happily married man, I'll not be attracted. No, it's the law of nature. You are in Rajoguna. Sex attraction is also in Rajoguna. So even if you are a very pious Mataji or a very pious Prabhuji, if you're living in that environment, you're associating with karmis, your thought process will go towards sex. Whether you would admit it to yourself or not, you would still be attracted. And that means you will not be attracted to Krishna. Shishnodara Parayana, Krishna nahi paye. So therefore, you see, now here, Jal Bharat is giving very hard warnings to Rahugana. Actually, we have seen the same warnings previously also in the story of Maharaj Puranjan, when Narad Muni was speaking to Prachina Barhishat. Maharaj Prachina Barhishat was also a very pious king. So Narad Muni gave him this huge narration of Puranjan and Vaidarbhi, who was the next birth of Puranjan. And in the end, he says, my dear king Prachina Barhishat, that Puranjan is you. Therefore, you leave this household now and you take sannyas. Because you are living in great danger. And so you see, Maharaj Prachina Barhishat was a very pious king. He knew all the rules and regulations of dharma. And we can see how pious he must have been that Narad Muni came to give him personal mercy. So you can imagine what is our condition and how deplorable our condition is. So therefore, here, we should not act like karmis. As devotees, we should be very careful. So point is, one needs to earn. I mean, in today's age, where will you go if you take sannyas? We need to earn, but don't be overly ambitious in this world. It's not going to lead to anything. The more ambitious you are in this world, the less desire you will have for Krishna. Maya will distract us. Maya will take our mind away from everything. She will put fear in our hearts. What will happen to me? My boss is angry. What will he say? What will she say? Or she will put this kind of lust in our heart. Now, I can earn more. Now I have got a promotion. Now I have got a bigger position. Now I can make more money, more savings. Then you will come back. Then, of course, what will you like to hear? If you work 12 hours a day, you're in harsh conditions, you're working like anything all day. When you come home, what would you want to hear? The sweet words, affectionate words of your children and your wife, or the hard speech of Srimad Bhagavatam? Think of it logically. Actually, it is Bhagavatam which is nectar. But you will think that your wife's sweet words are more, palatable. You wouldn't want to take shelter of Bhagavatam. And in this way, Maya will trick you. So please try to understand the practical implications of what we are studying. Please do not say, oh, Prabhuji only talks like this. No, please apply this in your life. Time is very short. Hare Krishna. Yes, any questions or comments? Okay, we continue. Text 4. Nivasa toya dravinatma buddhis.
Nivastoya Dravinada Buddhis.
Tatas tato dhavati bho atavyam. Kvachit cha vyatothit pamshu dhumra. Disho na janati rajasvalaksha.
Mary?
Yes, please.
Hare Krishna Bhajana Pranam. Translation purport by Sri Prabhupada. Sri Prabhupada ki jai. My dear king, the merchant on the forest path of material world, his intelligence optimizing by home, wealth, relatives, and so forth, run from one place to another in search of success. Sometimes his eyes are covered by the dust of the world. That is to say, in his dust he is captivated by the beauty of his wife, especially during her menstrual period. Thus his eyes are blinded, and he cannot see where to go or what he is doing. But it is said, the household attraction resides in the wife's, because sex is the control center of the household life. Yen Mathunadi, Garmani, Sukhame Tujam. A materialistic person making his wife the center of attraction works very hard day and night. His all enjoyment is material life, is sexual intercourse. Therefore, karmas are attracted to women as friends or wives. Indeed, they cannot work without sex. Under circumstances, the wife is compared to a whirlwind, especially during her menstrual period. Those who strictly follow the rules and regulations of the household life engage in sex only once a month. At the end of the menstrual period, as one looks forward to this opportunity, his eyes are overwhelmed by the beauty of his wife. This is said that the world covers the eyes with the dust. Such lusty person does not know that all his material activities are being observed by different demigods, especially sun god, and are being recorded for the karmas of one's next body. Astrological calculations are called Jyotish Shastra because the Jyoti or effulgence in the material world comes from the different stars and planets. The science is called Jyoti Shastra. The science of the luminaries by the calculations of Jyoti. Our future is indicated. In other words, all by calculation, the luminaries, the stars, sun, and moon witness the activities of the conditioned soul. Thus is awarded a particular type of body. A lusty person whose eyes are covered with the dust of the world and the material existence does not at all consider that his activities are being observed by different stars and planets and are being recorded. Not knowing this, the conditioned soul commits all kinds of sinful activities for the satisfaction of his lusty desires. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, thank you, Prabhu. My dear king, the merchant on the forest paths of material world, his intelligence victimized by home, wealth, relatives, and so forth, runs from one place to another in search of success. Jibhara lalasa jai iti uti dhai. Sometimes his eyes are covered by the dust of a whirlwind. That is to say, in his lust, he is captivated by the beauty of his wife, especially during her menstrual period. Thus, his eyes are blinded, and he cannot see where to go or what he is doing. Actually, this is quite surprising that, here Maharaj Bharat, Jad Bharat is saying that one is captivated by the beauty of his wife. Actually, we have now, like you can say, we have descended from that stage even. Now men are captivated by anyone's beauty, any female. Now, like it's so sad, like I remember reading this particular pastime around 22 years ago. That was around 2001. Or a little before that. Actually, I had read this in 2000. So 23 years ago, I had read this pastime. And at that time also, it seemed so difficult. But today, like we are seeing even in our own society, we're seeing that illicit sex is also casually accepted. It's okay, it doesn't matter, it's all right. So what? Actually, this is extremely dangerous. Anyone within our movement, if he's indulging in illicit sex, is going to suffer terribly. Because we are, especially if we use the word of Israelis, we are like the chosen ones. We have been given this special privilege by Krishna to be a part of his movement, ISKCON. If we make a mistake, there will be terrible punishment for it. So, of course, people may say that it happens accidentally, but sometimes we create these accidents ourselves. We are kind of we are looking forward to these accidents. So when we are mixing freely, unnecessarily, men and women all going together, yatras and all, there's always a great danger. It doesn't matter. One cannot think that, oh, so such and such Mataji is senior, she is married. How does it matter? She has 2 kids. No. Shastra and Shastric injunctions are very strict. Not even with one's own daughter or mother. So Prabhupada expands this. It is daughter, mother, or sister. So no, that's it. No female. In fact, there's a monastery in Greece where the monks, they live like in an isolated forest area, and they don't even allow female animals there. Like no goats, no cows. They get something from the village, and that's it. No women go to that monastery. No women are allowed to go there and pray or anything. So we can say that they are like kind of practicing brahmacharya there. They're Orthodox Christians. So that's the standard really. So because yan maithunadi grahameti sukhami tucham. So this male-female attraction, that's the very basis of this existence. Pumshama striya mithuni bhavametam. That's the very basis. So now let's just try to analyze why we are condemning this so much. Prabhupada himself was a grihastha. Why is he writing like this? So we have to understand this. What is this pumshama striya mithuni bhav? Pumsha means purush, the enjoyer. Stri means prakriti or the enjoyed. And what is mithuni bhav? Mithuni bhav. Now we may grossly call it sex attraction, but it means the mood of enjoyment. So if you, for example, if you have like a car and you feel like driving it for 2000 kilometers, that is also mithuni bhav. Anything that you enjoy in prakriti is some variety of mithuni bhav. And our objective is to give that up. Actually, once we have given this mithuni bhav, then we can say that we are at the stage of bhakti bhav. This is sadhana. This is sadhana bhakti. Giving up this desire of enjoyment. Sex is the grossest. If we have not transcended sex desire itself, like grossly enjoying female body, just at a very bare level. But even above that, if we have desire to like enjoy studying Sanskrit, desire to enjoy studying philosophies, those are also subtle sex desires. Desires because those are desires to satisfy our mind. Atmendriya priti vancha tare kahe kaam. So that is kama, that is lust, that is subtle sex. So one has to give up this atmendriya priti vancha, desire to satisfy one's own senses. So technically, Mahaprabhu is describing that as sex life. So, but of course, now we are talking at a more basic level. So, yan maithunadi grahamedhi sukham hi tucham. So why is it considered sukham hi tucham? Why tucham? Why is he not saying eating is tucham? Why specifically this? So that this is Prahlad Maharaj speaking actually. Yan maithunadi grahamedhi sukham hi tucham. Kandu yanena karayor eva dukkha dukkham. Tripyanti neha kripana bahu dukkha bhaja. Kandu tivan manasijam vishahet dhira. Sex life is compared to the rubbing of two hands to relieve an itch. Grahamedhis, so-called grihasthas who have no spiritual knowledge, think that this itching is the greatest platform of happiness, although actually it is a source of distress. The kripanas, the fools, who are just the opposite of brahmanas, are not satisfied by repeated sensuous enjoyment. Those who are dhira, however, who are sober and who tolerate this itching, are not subjected to the sufferings of fools and rascals. So Prabhupada says, sex life, whether it is licit or illicit, is always a source of distress. We can very easily see. Let's talk about illicit sex life. Actually, we don't even need to talk about it in sober company. But illicit sex life, we're going to see in the last chapter of this canto itself. In the 8th chapter, we're going to see illicit sex life directly leads us to Tapta Surmi, Shalamali. It also leads us to Vajrakantaki. It leads us to Maharoro. So these three varieties of hells are already waiting for us. And there is Tamisra, the darkness. So it leads us to the first hell, Andha Tamisra, the completely dark well. Then to Maharoro, where we are harassed by so many others. Illicit sex normally means that we are causing harassment to somebody else. You have illicit sex with somebody's wife, that person will be harassed. That is additional sin on top of the activity itself. Or with somebody's husband, that is also so there are additional sins. It's not just simple sin. So there is Tamisra, there will be Andha Tamisra, there will be Maharoro, there will be Vajrakantaki. Because naturally, when you are having illicit sex, it is naturally with someone who is not a fit member of the opposite of the society. So that means, a man who has illicit sex is no better than a chandal. A woman who has illicit sex is no better than prostitute. She is not grihastha. So no, even if one is chanting, one is not in that category. One who is actually chanting will not indulge in sex. So so that means Vajrakantaki. Vajrakantaki, where one's flesh has to be torn up by demonic entities. through these heavy thorns of these trees. Then there is Tapta Surmi, Shalmali, where one has to hug a beautiful form of molten metal where one will be burnt completely. So you see, that is illicit sex. Illicit sex has its own problems. One will have to work so hard, pavarga, one will have to work very hard, parishrama varga, one will have to indulge in. We were just describing that. And then over and above that, one will always run the danger of entering into the female species of life. In Kali Yuga, it's practically guaranteed that Grahasthas will become female. Because that's their only occupation, maintaining house. So one will become a Grahamedi, one will become a female in the next birth. That's what happened to Maharaj Puranjan. And that's what Narad Muni is warning Prachina Barhishat against. So you see, this is a great danger. And because we are into this Mithuni Bhava, trying to enjoy Prakriti, we are thinking ourselves to be like Krishna. So if I want to be Krishna, how can I worship Krishna? That is the primeval envy that we talk about. One may, like even I used to think, what is the envy? I mean, I don't envy Krishna. But no, this is the envy. When I'm thinking of enjoying this Prakriti, who am I trying to enjoy? What is Prakriti? Prakriti is Mahamaya. What is Mahamaya? It's just another dimension of Yogamaya. And who is Yogamaya personified? Srimati Radharani. So if you want to enjoy Radharani, how can you worship Krishna? So you see, you're understanding the very fundamentals of our bondage in this material world. So we have to purify ourselves. So what is this, what is this? Okay, before we discuss the remedy for this, let's discuss, what is the reason why we should avoid all these activities? So one may say, hey, I do it alone. Who's watching me? So here it is mentioned. A lusty person whose eyes are covered by the dust of the whirlwind of material existence does not at all consider that his activities are being observed by different stars and planets and are being recorded. So you see, you may think, oh, my apartment is very nice. It's on the 13th floor. Who can watch me? No, there is sunlight coming out of your windows. Surya is watching you. At night, Chandra is watching you. All these Taragana, they are watching you. So many living entities are your witnesses. You are breathing oxygen. Vayudev is a witness to your activities. You are thinking. Paramatma within the heart, Kshirodakshai Vishnu himself is your witness. You look at some beautiful woman and you want to enjoy her. Kshirodakshai Vishnu is knowing it. He notes in his diary. Okay, he wanted to enjoy this lady. Okay, noted. So you see, that's why in the previous ages, the great sages would avoid even sinful thoughts. And that's why you see that Haridas Thakur is considered such a great personality that he's Namacharya. Because he was completely undeterred by the presence of Mahamaya personified. So what is the parameter by which we can understand we are advancing in Bhakti? It's very simple. We have discussed this previously also. Yadavadhi mama chetah Krishna padaravinde navnavarasa dhamanujjata harantum asi tadavadhi batanari sangame smaryamane bhavati mukha vikara shushtu nishtivanam cha. Since I have engaged in the transcendental loving service of Krishna, realizing ever new pleasure in him, whenever I think of sex pleasure, I spit at the thought and my lips curl with distaste. This is Yamunacharya, the spiritual master of Ramanujacharya. So you see, this is a parameter. So before we can talk about, releasing the pastimes of Radha and Krishna, Krishna and the gopis or Krishna and gopas, this is what we should be realizing. So if this distaste has come, then you can really enjoy that. I was studying like in the 24th chapter of Nectar of Devotion. Srila Prabhupada is very clearly mentioning, he's quoting Rupa Goswami there, that activities described herein are transcendental activities. And that is why, so the activities we are talking about are the loving exchanges of Krishna with his devotees. So those activities are real activities. So, Krishna is sometimes kissing his girlfriends. Krishna is holding hands with his girlfriends and he's reciting poetry for them. They are looking very bashfully at him. They are blushing and Krishna is teasing them. Sometimes they are teasing Krishna and Krishna is blushing. Sometimes they are angry and Krishna is trying to pacify them. Now you can imagine they're beautiful girls and beautiful Krishna. These activities very much look like mundane activities. But they are Adi Ras. They are the original rasa. They are the original activities. We see a reflection of this in the material world, a perverted reflection, and therefore we can understand that spiritual world exists. And that is also why we say that this material world is actually a reflection of the spiritual reality. So to see that reality, we have to purify ourselves. So there, Rupa Goswami makes a comment which Srila Prabhupada translates into English. He says that these activities, one should not study these activities before one has purified oneself completely of all material bondages. Otherwise, one will mistake them to be ordinary activities. Now imagine I am a young boy and I have a girlfriend. And I'm not very sure, whether we are ever going to be together forever or not. So there will be these romantic exchanges. Now there will be let me quote it like this. I will feel some fear in my heart. Oh, she will go away. She will feel some trepidation. Oh, maybe he doesn't like me. Or then we'll meet, we'll have heartbeats will go up, we'll feel happy seeing each other. All of this is actually lust. But this is Adi Ras. Krishna is feeling the same. Gopis are feeling the same. Yugaitam nimishena chakshusha pravarshaitam shunyayetam jagat sarvam govinda virahena de. Who is saying that? Lord Chaitanya. Who is Lord Chaitanya? He is in the mood of Radharani. He's talking like Radharani there. Ashlishya vapadratam penashtumam adrishanan marma hata karotuva yatha tatha vavedadhatu lampato mat prananathastu sadeva napara. So he's lampat. Lampat literally, if you translate it in English, it roughly translates as rascal. So she's calling, so Radharani is calling Krishna. She's saying, you are such a rascal, but what can I do? You are always my master. Just like a lusty girl in love with a boy thinks. So you see, if our hearts are not purified, we have no access to this spiritual reality that is described in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, that is described in Antya Leela of Chaitanya Charitamrita of Prabhupada's books, and a wealth of literature given by the Goswamis. So before we have access to Vrindavan, we have to pass through this gate. Sansara Vasana Kabe Shuddha Habe Man Kabe Hama Heribho Shri Vrindavan. So you see, when we take these tickets, Rajdhani Express or Jayanti Janta Express, no, not Jayanti Janta, Golden Temple Mail or Amritsar Express. And when we go to Vrindavan, we are not going to Vrindavan. We are just going to Mathura district of Uttar Pradesh, of Western Uttar Pradesh. We have no access to Vrindavan like this. Somebody sits there and gives you some mushy story of Raj Leela and girls are crying, boys are shouting. That is all just at the mental level, mental concoctions. If you like that love story, you'll also like Salman Khan's love story. That is not reality because we have lust in our heart. If I'm sitting in Vrindavan and admiring the beauty of some Mataji, no, then I'm not seeing Krishna. I cannot see Krishna. I don't have the vision. So that's why we say blinded by the whirlwind and victimized by false happiness of sex life. So you see, if I'm blinded by whirlwind, if I can appreciate the beauty of a female on earth, I cannot appreciate Krishna. So you see, this is how dangerous it is. So, right now we're in the middle of Grihastha Ashram. It's very difficult. So we have to understand what standard we are talking about. We are establishing the standards here. Then we can start working towards them. And therefore you see how hard is the path in front of you. Shurasya dharaya nishta duratyaya durgam pathastat kavayo vadanti. So you see, Shurasya dharaya nishita duratyaya, as difficult as a edge of a blade. And such difficult is this path, and thus tat kavayo vadanti. So, and the wise people are saying that. Not I. I'm not saying that. The sages are saying that. So you see, when we are studying Bhagavatam, please don't take it cheaply. It's been 4 years. Please consider very seriously what you have studied so far. And if you don't take it seriously, then my suggestion is please drop out. Don't hear it more and more. It will just make you disturbed. And you will not benefit. Go away and enjoy material life. And when you have suffered enough, you will come back. But if you think you can do the two things together, you are living in illusion. And you will suffer because you will not enjoy material life and you will not enjoy this either. This will seem very distasteful to you. So, and this advice was given to me by my senior godbrother. What was his name? Baldev Prabhu. For those of you who are associated with Chowpatty Temple, you must know this. You can ask him. He gave this advice in 2000. Okay, Hare Krishna. Yes, any questions or comments here?
I have a question about this. You were talking about this tolerating the itching. So if
Can't hear you.
sorry, so you were talking about this tolerating the itching in this material world while we are living here. So is this the same thing as we are talking about the disease of skin disease that we need to tolerate?
Yes, it's the same thing. Skin disease. So you see, ato graha kshetra sutapta vittayar. Pumshama striya mithuni bhavam etam tayor mitho hridaya granthi mahu. Ato graha kshetra sutapta vittayar janasya mohayam aham mameti. It's not just one. It's not just one, it follows everything. So, there is grahasthi. The prayojan or the objective of grahastha life is children. Graha kshetra suta apta vittayar. So graha means you first need to have some home. Kshetra, you must have some land. Suta, you must have children. Apta, you must have some kind of earning. Vittayar must have some business. So all of this will come together. So it's not just like just male-female attraction. You can see, like I know one of my colleagues, like Thomas. Now I'll get married. Now I'll buy a house. Now I must have a child. Now I must have a career. Everything you'll have, but in the end, Maya will come and take away everything. In a flash, everything would be gone. So you see, because Maya is going to take it away, it will not stay with us, no matter how much we like it or how pious we are. Hare Krishna. Yes. Any other questions or comments? If not, then we stop here. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Krishna
Thank you, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam.